So my history with quilting is one that is just so beautiful and rich. My grandmother's quilt, I'm a fifth generation quilter. I really honed in and learned how to quilt while I was working on my PhD. It was something that was very therapeutic for me, and the idea to create, but also to be able to complete something at a time where I thought my dissertation was never going to end. It's just really special to me that through my work and also my personal passion around quilting, that I'm able to combine these two. I've often used this metaphor about, will you be a quilter for justice to end HIV and AIDS? And it's such a beautiful metaphor to use that we're creating patchworks that reduce the stigma and address the barriers to care, and patchworks that reduce the isms that exist, and patchworks around the continuum of care, all the way from HIV prevention and education to treatment and care. And hopefully one day we'll find a cure. So quilting is a tradition in Black communities, started many generations ago, even brought over from crafting and quilting among communities in Africa as we came to the Americas. And it's something that has been passed down. There are women in Alabama, in Gee's Bend, Alabama, creating beautiful works for many generations. And I think the world is finally recognizing and seeing them as they have quilts now, replications that are in Macy's, for example, and being sold. And quilting is a way to unite generations and a way to tell a story and to remember those that we have lost. Change the Pattern is an opportunity to re-envision the response to the HIV and AIDS epidemic among Black and brown communities, and particularly in the southern U.S. Change the Pattern is an opportunity for the quilt to travel throughout the southern U.S. to raise awareness. And united with Gilead Sciences, the Southern AIDS Coalition, the National AIDS Memorial, and so many communities throughout the South who are doing this work every day. So far, we've traveled to Mississippi, at least I have. I've been to Jackson, Mississippi, where we had an amazing time. We were fortunate to have the amazing Sheryl Lee Ralph, the actress, the philanthropist, who has been committed to highlighting and raising awareness around HIV and AIDS. And she was there, and there was a quilt that she created many years ago for those who she has lost to the epidemic, and just telling her story around why she cares about HIV. And it resonated with so many people because so many folks have lost those that they've loved to the epidemic, and the fight is not over. We are close, and we believed in an end to the epidemic, but we must continue the work. I had the opportunity to work on a quilt panel right here in Atlanta, Georgia, at the SOS conference, or Saving Ourselves conference, that is sponsored by the Southern AIDS Coalition. And I was so honored that I had my mother with me at the time. She was visiting, and it was one of those things, you take your mom to work day. And so she came to the conference, and together we were able to work on a quilt panel to honor a gentleman from Mississippi, one who has been a trailblazer in HIV and AIDS. It was a time where people were still afraid to talk about the epidemic. And he brought awareness to it in the state of Mississippi. And it was just an honor to be able to uplift his name and to work on a panel with my mom, as well as with a community of folks who care passionately and deeply about this work. And also because our family roots are in Mississippi. So it was a way on many levels to honor the tradition that my mother, that her mother and her mother's mother have taught and brought down for all of us, but also to lift up a name of someone who has been so passionate around the epidemic. We have to continue to make quilts in 2022 because there are lives that are still lost to the HIV and AIDS epidemic. Lives that are Black and brown, people living in the southern United States who have experienced shame and stigma and who have not been able to tell their story. Many of them have not been able to tell their story of living with HIV for fear of isolation, for fearful of rejection. And we have lost so many people. And my heart particularly goes out to the trans community, our transgender sisters and brothers who are literally fighting for their lives on so many levels. And I honor them and I lift them up, as well as all those that we've lost to the HIV and AIDS epidemic. So we are still in the midst of the epidemic. It's not over. We have not found a cure. People are living longer lives, and better quality of lives, but we are still in the midst of an epidemic that hopefully we can see an end to in our generation.